Welcome back to my channel, artists. Today we will be making dragon puppets. Step number 1, draw the head. When you draw the head, make sure you're going as close as you can to the top of the paper and as far along the side so you don't have a tiny little head for your animal. I am drawing a head of a dragon that I saw on worksheet, so you can do that, or you could even make up your own animal. Just make sure that it's large and fills as much of that colored paper as you can. Step number 2, draw the tail. In the same way that you drew the head, you want to draw the tail large so it fills up as much of the space as you can. So you can see from my picture here that I am drawing it as tall as I can to make it as interesting as possible. As I draw my tail, you will also notice that I start to put on some scales. Dragons are known for having scales, so you want to try to put some scales on either the tail or the head, or both if you can. Step number 3, trace with a Sharpie. You want to trace all of your details on both the head and the tail pieces of paper with a Sharpie. After you've traced it with a Sharpie, if that's not enough detail or not exciting enough, you're welcome to use colored pencil to color it in. You could add feathers or glitter or anything that you think will add a little extra to your artwork. Of course, we've talked before about making sure you don't have a crazy circus happening in your picture, but a few extra details would be a great idea. As I finish up here on the tail, I'm going to go ahead and grab the head and trace it with a Sharpie. It's not a bad idea to color in a few of the shapes on the head, particularly the eye and the nose, with a black Sharpie, just to give it a little more detail and give it a little more punch on that head and make those details stand out, so to speak. Step number 4, cut out your shapes. When you cut out the shapes, sometimes you might have some real easy shapes to cut out, and you might have some areas that are a little bit more difficult, like you see this little pointed area of the fur or fangs. Instead of cutting it out, first I'm going to go around it and then go back and detail cut. This is particularly a good idea for the mouth, as that mouth is going to be really tricky to cut. So I'm going to cut around the entire head first, and then I'll go back in and I'll cut the details around the mouth. Try your best to cut as neatly as you can, throwing away the scraps that you do not need. So here you can see that I have finished cutting the head, and I'm going to go ahead and take my scissors and I'm going to go cut inside that mouth to get those details exactly the way that I want them. You don't have to cut the mouth out. If you want to leave it not cut out and just color it in with a black marker so it looks empty, that is also a good idea for those of you that drew teeny tiny shapes that might be a little more difficult to cut out. You can see those teeth there were a little more challenging for me, so I went back in and I'm going to go ahead and detail cut those. Please feel free to do this on both the head and the tail to make it look as neat as possible. Now that I have finished cutting out both my shapes, it's time for step number 5. Make an accordion fold. You're going to take that white piece of paper that's skinny and you're going to fold it. You're going to fold back and forth. So you'll fold one part, flip the paper over as you see me doing, and fold the next part so they line up mostly. This does not have to be perfect. Sometimes in art we want to measure things so things line up exactly perfect. This accordion fold, it does not matter. You're just going to flip back and forth to flip it over. You want at least 5 or 6 folds. You can see I have quite a few more than that. But when you look at the end of mine, they don't match up. Here's what I say. They need to go, both ends need to be going out like the letter V, but one end is not going out. So I'm going to cut that end off. You're the artist, we can do that. So let's look at it again. Notice how it makes that letter V. Step number 6, you're going to tape it together. So on the back of with that letter V pointing out, you're going to take some tape. You could also use glue if you don't have tape available, but I'm going to tape mine because that way I can take it home in one day and it's not wet and sticky. Then I'm going to tape the other side on there to voila, make my puppet. Step number 7, add your sticks. You want to add your sticks as close as you can to that accordion paper if you have smaller popsicle sticks and thinner popsicle sticks, otherwise it might not be strong enough to move. And voila, here is my puppet. I hope you enjoyed making a dragon puppet with us today. What will you create?